Doppler. So upper limb Doppler, the indications are less. Then I'll go for PPT. The indications of upper limb Doppler are quite less than lower limb, because the disease is more common in lower limb arteries. It amounts to only 5% of total cases. The most common site is proximal part of subclavian artery, and this becomes an important point of study for all of us. And whenever there is a stenotic or occlusion lesion at the proximal part of subclavian artery, if that occlusion of stenosis is proximal to the origin of vertebral artery, there is a steal phenomenon. And we should be aware of the steal phenomenon, because the subclavian artery stenosis most of the time goes unnoticed, because the upper limb doesn't need that much supply as that of a lower limb, and the requirement is not much increased. So many patients, they do not feel the signs of ischemia. So here the subclavian artery narrowing or occlusion, that evaluation is very nicely possible due to color Doppler. Vascular diseases, they are common. They sometimes affect the upper limb arteries, and we should also assess the changes that may be due to these diseases. Another indication is compression of subclavian artery in due to cervical rib. So most of the time this is a neurological thing, and very few times the vascular cause is there for the thoracic outflow tract syndrome, and the Adson's test, if done, can be helpful, but angiography is more precise in diagnosing the compression by either scalenus anterior or the cervical rib on the subclavian artery. Sometimes you get embolic phenomena in the upper limb. There can be axillary artery is a quite common location for these embolic episodes, or brachial arteries also. Nowadays most of the coronary interventions are done with through transradial route. The angiographies, the angioplasties. So because of increased number of interventions, you can get sometimes upper limb Doppler patients for local Doppler to look for any hematoma, or sometimes thrombus due to long-term placement of the indwelling catheter for either thrombolysis or angioplasty. The collateral circulation in upper limb, as we have said, in proximal subclavian artery, the steal will be through vertebral artery. If it is in distal subclavian artery, then the arteries around the thoracervical trunk and mammary arteries, they may act as a collateral. In forearm, the arteries around the shoulder joint, they may act as a collateral. And in case of radial or ulnar obstruction, there can be retrograde filling through the palmar arches. So there is abundant collateral supply, and that gives the refilling of or reformation of the distal vessels, but that is always weak. This is just to show you an example of stenosis in the proximal subclavian artery. There is a high flow here. The common carotid artery is normal, and there is a stenosis. If you sample here, lot of increased velocities there is seen in that place. And there is the vertebral artery showed a partial steal, so that the diastolic reversal is there. We have seen that vertebral always shows monophasic flow. Flow is always above baseline or one side of the baseline, even in systole and diastole. So this was just an example to show the vertebral steal. So this is common carotid, and this is the vertebral artery. If you can see, the jugular and the vertebral, they are showing same direction of flow. So arch of aorta has got three branches. Our evaluation, as we have seen in right side, it starts from branching of the brachiocephalic. Rarely there can be aberrant origin of the right subclavian artery. Then the origin may not be seen. On left side, the common carotid and subclavian, they originate separately, and their origins visualization is difficult. So you can use the indirect method of denoting that there is a pathology in the proximal subclavian artery. So you can use sometime microconvex probe, but practically it is not many times possible. This is the Addison's maneuver is shown in the photograph, and detection of the subclavian artery can be done by this provocative maneuver. One more pathology needs mention here is autoarthritis. Autoarthritis is common in young females, and there is a involvement of all major blood vessels, major branches of the arch of the aorta. In that you can see the concentric thickening, concentric intimal thickening. They call it as a halo sign. In the transverse section you can see that the intima is quite thickened and very small lumen is there. And in the long section, if you can appreciate, this intima is thickened on both sides. Basically it is circumferential thickening, and the lumen is very narrow. So that can in this case also, as we said earlier, the pulsatility is lost due to gross intimal thickening, and the flow is turbulent. And in some cases you can get stenosis. It can produce stenosis in multiple vessels, and this was a case where there is a stenosis in this segment in the brachiocephalic artery, and you can see this quite increased velocities in systole as well as diastole. And this is a distal vessel. It doesn't show any pulsatility. It is just showing the turbulent flow. Upper limb Doppler is also sometimes required as a pre-dialysis or pre-CABG evaluation or assessment. In pre-CABG assessment, whenever the radial graft is to be harvested, then the cardiac surgeon may ask you to give us information about radial and ulnar artery Doppler. So what we need to give is the dimension of the radial artery. Then we have to mention about whether there is some intimal thickening, some wall calcification or narrowing. In diabetic patients you can get fine wall calcification. Usually intima media is not seen in the smaller arteries, but if you can differentiate that, we should always mention that. For the pre-CABG, we can do the Allen's test, where the ulnar artery compression test to evaluate whether the ulnar artery can take up, can compensate the flow into the hand and the palm region. So there are multiple tests available. You can do the ulnar artery compression. So the modified Allen's test is the plantar reversal technique, where a plantar is not exactly plantar, but that is a metacarpal artery that you have to sample it, then obstruct compress the radial artery, and then you can see the reversal in that metacarpal artery. Another test advocated is reactive hyperemia test, where the probe is kept on the radial artery, and the patient is asked to clench his fist tightly for 1 minute or 2 minutes, and then after the patient releases the fist, and then the blood flow through the radial artery increases, and then you have to measure the resistivity index of that radial artery. In ulnar compression, there should be increase the peak systolic velocity by more than 15 cm per second. So in pre-dialysis also this radial artery assessment is done in similar way. In addition, the other side of the fistula, that is cephalic vein assessment, is done. So that cephalic vein should have certain characteristics for better chances of maturation of the AV fistula. The depth you have to measure, the diameter you have to measure, the course should be straight, that should not be accessory vein nearby, and it should be compressible, etc. So patency of the palmar arch I told that is modified duplex Allen's test. So post-dialysis evaluation, I think we have got the patient, we'll just see, we'll discuss. There was a question, what about how to evaluate vascular structures in case of trauma, maybe blunt trauma or more importantly penetrating trauma. So what we can do, we can do a more evaluation first to look for surrounding structures or foreign body in case of penetrating trauma. In the venous side, there can be hematoma around or at the site. There can be luminal thrombus, there can be wall disruption of the vein. So to check patency of the vein, whether it is compressible or not, we can do augmentation, so we can keep the probe above the level of injury and compress below the level of injury, and if there is augmentation, we can consider that particular vein is patent. In arterial side, you can get dissection. So if in case of dissection, we will look for a flap, that is a hyperechoic thin structure into maybe floating into the lumen. In case of dissection, we have to look about hemodynamics. We have to look whether that is a true lumen and pseudolumen, and where there is a hemodynamic changes into the distal flow. Sometimes at the site of penetrating injury, wall irregularity can be seen, that is mentioned in the literature. There can be periarterial hematomas. Pseudoaneurysm can be there. So pseudoaneurysm can be iatrogenic, as we many times see in the femoral artery intervention. There is a pseudoaneurysm at the common femoral artery, and there are maneuvers described to compress it. Some of them are very good at it, at getting it compressed by under ultrasound guidance. Rarely the penetrating traumas can result into AV fistulas, and then you can get the flow changes in the artery as well as vein. We will discuss AV fistulas in later. So we can check the distal artery to the site of the injury, and if it is normal, it is said to rule out trauma, and as usual you should always compare with the other limb. So post dialysis we will consider at when we do that patient. As regards to digital arteries, digital artery evaluation is usually not included in the routine upper or lower limb Doppler. We do up to wrist, we do up to ankle. Whenever there is specific indication that only one finger has got ischemic changes or one finger tip is gangrenous, and we see up to wrist level or ankle level everything is normal, then we may go for assessment of the digital artery in upper limb or in lower limb. So the evaluation is it takes little bit time, but over the time you can develop yourself to identify the digital artery on both sides of the finger and identifying their pattern. Obviously, because they supply very small amount of body part, the flow is not triphasic here. It can be good diastolic flow and systolic peak as such. You can see thrombus sometimes in the artery, especially in the arteritis. Some arteritis they produce thrombus of the digital arteries or the palmar arteries. And yeah, primary secondary renal disease, this is taken from article. They say the secondary renal phenomena due to systemic sclerosis, antiphospholipid antibody or thromboangiitis obliterans. They produce various types of occlusion in digital arteries, and accordingly you can mention that whether this is a primary or the secondary. The ulnar artery is more commonly involved than radial artery. So distinguish between primary and secondary. The cold challenge test is done, and I have not done in any time because this is a clinical diagnosis also. Most of the time the clinician does it, and they try to differentiate between primary and secondary renal phenomena. So we will move on to demo of upper limb arterial Doppler. The patient is already here. So while doing the upper limb Doppler, as I am assessing his left side, moving down the other way, because this makes me easy to traverse and traverse the course of the arteries in a simpler way, and seeing on the other side it becomes difficult. I have to stretch my body, stretch my shoulder, everything, and then we can do maneuvers if necessary very easily in this position. So he is resting comfortably, just give pillow below the shoulder for some time. Mantika will extend this on the other side. So he is on the other side of the table. So what we will do, we will just unlock our machine little bit towards this side so that we are comfortable. The screen is nearer and the buttons or the knobs are within our reach. So we will apply jelly. So while doing in this position, your left right you have to be more cautious. So he's got nodule in thyroid. When you are doing carotid Doppler, if you find something very conspicuous, you just mention at the end of the report that the patient has got something in thyroid also. So this is jugular common carotid. We are going down. It is dipping. Can see parallel vessels here. That the other one is carotid artery because it is going in the neck. And this is the subclavian artery. We'll just confirm. The cover Doppler also sometimes give an indication that whether this is a normal artery or not. See this, you can see the at least two phases you can make out. You can make it. Now look at our color scale. The color scale is blue towards the probe. So predominantly the vessels should show the blue flow. Because there will be diastolic reversal, it will show some red and again blue. So that you should make sure what you are seeing and what you should see at this point. So we will make the sample volume bigger in size. It is now 2.5 centimeters. The subclavian is 8 to 11 millimeters in size, and if you can see this is going out. So what would you do? Here you do manual adjustment by changing the scale. You increase the spectral scale, and now we will invert the Doppler so that you can see this sharp flow. So this is the spectrum in the subclavian artery. This is the proximal subclavian artery we are seeing. If you make a transverse section here, that is the vertebral artery. So that is subclavian artery proximal. If you move distally, the clavicle would come here and you won't see anything. That is the acoustic shadow of the clavicle. The distal subclavian artery you can see in the infraclavicular region. It is little bit deep, so increase the depth and try to see the subclavian artery here. Again it is pulsatile. you have to adjust the probe. As I have now changed the probe direction, because whenever I was moving the probe this way, the image was going out. So it was to have better orientation, the orientation I am used to, I have changed it. Now when I move the probe laterally, the image goes this side, and this matches with the anatomy. So this is again we can see it is pulsatile. I will just magnify it. You can see it nicely. And this is the subclavian vein just above. Can you see that? It is increasing in size, reducing in size. That is phasic flow. This is pulsatile flow. Now we'll just sample the subclavian artery here. So we'll reduce PRF little bit, increase color gain. No, थंडी वाजते का? थंडी वाजते? Okay. See, my hand is hanging here, so what I can do is I can rest my elbow here so that my wrist becomes more free to do the maneuvering, and I can see it better. So I applied a spectral gate across, I adjusted the spectral gate size. This is 2.5 millimeter here, and now I have applied the Doppler. So what is happening? It is quite low, so we'll reduce the spectral PRF. Got it right? We'll raise the baseline, this way, so that the spectrum is seen across. So as you see, the triphasicity is there, but it is there is a triphasicity, sharp systolic peak, sharp coming back to normal, diastolic reversal, and little bit again systolic peak. So at some point you don't see it, so you have to screen it for some point of time to get it right. So as this enters the axilla, we just follow it. It goes deep. See, the caliber has reduced. This is some major branch going. There are multiple branches here, right from subscapular to shoulder region, circumflex, and other branches. The caliber has reduced. The flow pattern has remained same, and then again same. See, we can appreciate Doppler in three different ways. One is color, second is spectrum, and third is the audible signal. The audible signal is within range of human hearing, so you can listen to that and keep it. See this, I will increase the volume. I think if the volume is visible or audible, you can see that this is typical sharp peak and coming back, sharp peak and coming back, and this is a normal triphasic flow audio signal, I would say. This audio signal is important to in some cases whenever there is a AV communication, you get a different type of audible signal. So we'll come to it at a later time. So this is distal, and here you can trace it like this. We have entered the forearm. In the forearm, the radial artery is medial and almost straight in course. Thoda हाथ ऐसा करा. I will just abduct his hand so that I can see the radial नहीं, brachial artery. So again do the artery is very superficial, so I have adjusted the focus of beam mode to a superficial level, and we can see multiple veins. So we will compress and check which is artery which is in the structure. Near the artery is vein that is getting compressed. This is one more vein that is getting compressed. Okay, which is that vein? Somebody can tell us. So we follow this. We can magnify like this. It all depends on you, how you like it. So just screen it is very easy. In transverse plane, in launch plane, what happens? The vessel doesn't run in the same plane of action. It goes medial, lateral, up, down, and you tend to miss. Then you lose lot of time in scanning it. So do a preliminary scan always in peripheral arteries and carotid arteries, except for common iliac and external iliac arteries, where the longitudinal evaluation is better. You should always do it in transverse. This reduces lot of time. Many times what happens, the examination time is a deterrent for many people to do Doppler. It is not like that. It is getting used to it, getting proper techniques and keep using them. That makes you very good at doing them. So this is the brachial artery. I have almost reached the elbow joint, and now it will turn anteriorly and medially it will come into the cuboidal fossa. Here you can see that is the brachial artery that is bifurcated. I think everybody can appreciate that bifurcation. I will just keep the pointer there. This is brachial artery, this is brachial artery, this is brachial artery, and this is bifurcated. So the superficial one is radial, the deep one is ulnar. So we will go back here, just make a long section. Wherever you want a long section, take the artery in the mid of the screen. Don't keep it here and make a long section. Take the artery in mid like this, and at that point only just make the probe 90 degree. That gives you a very easily you can see the artery without losing its visibility. So you can see the intima because it's a magnified image. You can see the intima also. So what we would do is just do a sample here, whether whatever we are seeing is normal or not. The spectral importance of steering, I will just again reiterate. This is very important. The use of steering makes your life very easy. The use of steering reduces the time and gives you very quick information. So use it frequently and judiciously. Think how is the flow coming, what is the angle, how should I steer. In a artery which is parallel to the probe or parallel to the angle insonation, you can steer it either way, there is no problem. You can steer it this way, you can steer it this way, you will get same information. Now the color is going out. I will just increase the PRF little bit and reduce the color gain. So nicely seen, now it is contained within the vessel. So once this is done, just put spectral Doppler. So again the vessel caliber is reduce the sample volume and do the sampling. So somebody was asking me what is duplex Doppler and what is triplex Doppler. So this is duplex Doppler whenever you are applying a B mode and a Doppler. This is duplex Doppler, and whenever you apply all three, B mode, color and spectrum, that is a triplex Doppler. For everybody's information, let me tell you that the spectrum came first. first it was incorporated in the machines and long back it was used. The color Doppler came at a later stage, but it has made our life very easy. So we'll add color to this screen and then do it. So whenever you are very proficient, you can do this thing also. You can do it in continuous mode, or there can be all three things done there. This thing also you can do. Just keep on screening, keep on color, keep the spectrum, everything you can do, but not initially. Initially you should follow the simple protocols, and that will be shorten your learning curve. So I come here at the elbow joint. You can see the lower end of humerus, and you know where to palpate the brachial artery. I'll again show in transverse. This is lower arm, this is the brachial artery. I'll just magnify. Too much magnification hampers the quality. So we go back, do a real time, or you can reduce the depth to see it in a better fashion. Now it is seen. It is coming to the cubital fossa. It is coming. Keep an eye on the artery, and you can see its bifurcation. It is very easy to see the brachial artery here. And again I have rested my elbow on the side of the patient so that the maneuvering becomes easy. The fine movements, they get restricted if your hand is hanging. Then the shoulder gets strained, shoulder gets pain, back pain is also there. So it is always easy to make yourself comfortable, because you have to do the patient's day in day out. So that's bifurcation. I will see the artery launch in long section. That is a bifurcation. You can see this is brachial artery, and it's almost continuing as radial artery here, and ulnar is a little bit medial and it goes inferiorly. That is the ulnar artery. So this, at this point we will just sample. This is the best place to sample any artery. If you sample where it makes the angle, it becomes easy. You don't need to adjust many things. So we will reduce the width, we will reduce the height also. Width is more important, but height also you should keep less, so that the less amount of machine doesn't have to work much for you, and it gives you every information quick. And so this is the sound. I will reduce the spectral gain little bit. Very clean spectrum. Normal. We'll move to the radial artery. Go back to transverse. You can traverse the radial artery. Apply gel before. You know the course of the artery. Accordingly you apply the gel, so that every time you don't have to take probe out and again apply and again do it. So spread that gel. Remember to freeze when you spread the gel. You should save your probe life. And now after application of gel, you will go defreeze, go back where you were, or go back to the landmark. The landmark here is the brachial artery. Then again this is radial going parallel. I will keep the arrow over the radial artery. This is radial artery, very superficial, and as we go down it becomes more superficial. Keep it in the center of the screen so that it becomes easy for you to visualize. That is radius. it is coming. I am reaching mid to lower forearm, and as we go down, this is at the wrist where we palpate, and distal to wrist it goes little bit lateral, gives branches. Once it is done in transverse, come to the longe, and in longitudinal section you can see the artery very nicely. It is difficult in initial days to trace the artery in longitudinal section. As you see, artery is very small, so it just goes out of the focus. You cannot keep it in focus continuously. So better is to see it at one place transverse, make your assessment, go again in transverse in mid forearm or so, see it in long section again, see it here, go to the distal part and see it again. Same, we'll try to see the ulnar artery, go back, brachial, this is brachial artery, that's bifurcation, this is ulnar artery, this is ulnar artery, goes deep first and then comes out, and we can see it. Ulnar artery is sometimes difficult to see, so what you can do, if you cannot trace it, see this is here, from here it will come superficial, come back, and I am lost here. So what I can do is either go back, or you can trace it back from the elbow joint. At the elbow joint, the ulnar artery is again superficial like radial artery. Here again you are seeing various structures. So this shows pulsatility. So this should be ulnar artery, and you can trace it proximally. So once that is done, again in long section you can see that this is the transverse. I will make a long section here, and that is ulnar artery here. You can put color and try to see where is the artery. Where is it? Not seen. So we will go back. What is happening? Why we are not seeing? This is the, you can see the pulsation. I'll zoom the image. Can you see the pulsation there? This is, here you can see the pulsation, but we are not seeing. Two things has happened. One is our scale is too high. Second, our steer is not proper. The artery is quite small in this patient, and that has come up. So what was happening? Our scale was too high, so we were not able to pick up nicely. Our gain was low, so we have adjusted that, and you can see that ulnar artery. Now we have found it. We will just do it. So that was showing normal flow. We'll come back to radial. Here, हाथ आतमध्ये ठेवा. Let the patient be comfortable. Now he has rested his forearm. Can you focus here? आएगा नहीं. Okay, I'll take the machine that way. So I moved the machine so that you can see where we do it. So this is the radial artery. See that pulsations. So again this is making a parallel. So what I am doing, I am angling my probe so that I can get angle for spectral measurement or for velocity measurement. Our gate is more, we will reduce the gate here and nice triphasic flow. He is a young patient, good flow. I'll reduce the zoom little bit. This is lower end of radius and immediately it branches little laterally and to the dorsal. It goes deep and then goes round and it forms the deep palmar arch, whereas the ulnar artery forms the ulnar artery, it will form preferentially the superficial palmar arch. So whenever harvesting of the radial artery is required for a CABG, if the patient comes for evaluation, what you want to do is you see the radial artery. In this case, you measure the radial artery at various levels and mention it in report. I'll reduce the focus, get the depth right, and see the artery. We'll just change our setting. We are still in carotid. We'll move to arterial and try to see if we can see it in a better way. Magnify our image. Do it. Now see it better. Yeah. So that's the radial artery. You can measure it. So this is 1.5 millimeters, and we can mention it at the level because this is the distal part of the radial artery is taken as a harvest. Similarly, we should measure the both brachial artery diameter also. We will go to the ulnar side. We'll do the steering, reduce the width so that we see it more nicely, and I will reduce the sample volume again to the required size. The vessel is small, so I will keep it at 0.5 millimeters, and at this point I will take a spectrum, keep my hand there and compress the radial artery. See the augmented flow in the ulnar artery. I have reduced it, goes back to normal. We can appreciate this. So this is the augmentation. So this indirectly gives evidence that the arch are patent. This is pre-CABG assessment. If you want to assess the patient for pre-dialysis, then see in this patient the intima is seen. The sugar hai ka? Huh? Yes. This patient is diabetic. So you can see you don't usually see intima like this. This is a bad intima. If you can appreciate this intima is not regular. See this. See this. This intima is not regular. Little bit tortuosity. There is some deposition here. So this artery will not be taken as a graft. You have to mention in your report that such and such changes are seen in the lumen. You have to mention the diameter as I have said, and Accordingly, the cardiac surgeon will decide whether to harvest that artery or not. You can see the lot of intimal changes in this. Even this may not be taken as a site for AV fistula, creation of AV fistula for dialysis in case the patient needs it. So for dialysis, AV fistula is commonly created between the radial artery and the cephalic vein. So identification of cephalic vein is very easy. You see the radial artery in transverse, that is a radial artery, that is a radial concomitant vein, and this is the cephalic vein. If you see this like this in a transverse section, it is lateral and very superficial. So what we need to see, as I said in the presentation, we need to see the cephalic vein. We need to see its diameter. Diameter is 2 centimeters. Here you have to measure them at various places and inform them that, see, the diameter changes a little bit. I have just kept the probe and it is obliterating the lumen. So whenever you are doing a venous Doppler, you have to keep the probe very much lightly, so that you can measure the actual diameter of the vein. You can measure it this way or this way. See the change. It was coming 1.4, it is now more than 2.3, or average if we can take it is 2.4 to 2.5 millimeters. So the vein should be, they say, more than 2.5 centimeter vein. If we can get it, the chances of having a patent fistula for longer time or more. You have to look for arterial side, as we have seen. You have to look for venous side. The depth of the vein from the skin should be less, because in dialysis the cephalic vein is repeatedly punctured to get an access and do the dialysis. So it should not be very deep. And the main intention, there are two intentions of doing AV fistula: to getting fast replenishment of this blood impurities like create and other things, and other is making the vein visible for puncturing. Then the vein, you can trace it up, and ideally you should trace the vein up to the insertion. If you are not seeing veins, many times the renal failure patients have got edema or skin changes. So what you can do, you can just inflate BP apparatus up to 40 millimeter of mercury at the arm level, and that will dilate the vein, and you can measure the vein and mention that I have measured the vein in by doing this maneuver. This is the cephalic vein without the pressure. You can see it is compressible very easily. This is the cephalic vein. I'll put color for better identification. See, the vein is not showing any flow. Now I have reduced the PRF. Vein is showing flow. So that is the use of using proper PRF, proper settings. This cephalic vein. Ideally we should do a B mode evaluation. This is cephalic vein. This is going up. Now the flow has increased, so I will increase the PRF so that the flow outside the vessel is not seen. Okay, now the flow is nicely seen. The caliber has increased. It is going. You can see this almost at shoulder level. Then it will course medially. This has course medially, and it will drain into the subclavian vein. So you have to screen the cephalic vein up to the insertion into the cephalic vein. That is a cephalic vein going down. So using color makes you easy and fast in getting the flow. Very nicely seen, and identification becomes more easy. Going down and almost into the cephalic vein. We'll increase the gain here. that is into the cephalic vein. You can appreciate it is entering the cephalic vein here. Cephalic vein. Additionally, cephalic vein, the in subclavian vein also, in axillary vein also, because ultimately this vein is going into that vein, and we have to make ensure that the flow distal to the fistula is normal. Reduce the color gain here so that the color remains within the vessel. This is cephalic vein, it at proximal arm rather, and just do a spectrum, a good flow. So arterial side is a problem, but the venous side is okay for this patient. So before we move on, I will just demonstrate digital arteries in this patient, and then we will take him on the other side, as they have given that the pulsation are weak on the other side. Just focus it here. We will go distally. So I am in the palm region. You can see multiple vessels. This is a transverse section. There are arches, and arch evaluation, complete arch evaluation is not possible many times due to Doppler. What is our interest is it's not the indirect evaluation of the patency that you have to do by various maneuvers, as we have seen. And whenever there is a request or there is a need that the patient has got significant ischemic changes, patient has got severe pain in tip of finger, patient has got gangrenous changes or pre-gangrenous changes, then you need to see the digital arteries. So the digital arteries, there are two digital arteries on either side of the each digit. So you can see them in transverse and longe both planes and in every digit. What you can do is keep probe in the midline, that is the proximal phalanx. Just move your probe laterally and you can see that artery. That is the artery coming. Again settings. If you remember, there is a advertisement by Shah Rukh Khan and his Gauri Khan. Setting is everything. So that is true for color Doppler. Here setting is everything. If you develop setting everything, then this becomes very easy. So what I have done, the color box was bigger, I made it smaller in width, so that in the same PRF you could get better color flow pickup. We have increased little bit color gain and we have reduced the scale. The scale was higher as we were seeing the higher flow in the cephalic vein when we had sampled it last. So to keep in mind what you were doing, now we put spectrum across. I will again reduce the sample volume to minimum. Minimum is 0.5 millimeter for this machine, and we'll just sample it here. Lost. See it again. They are very tiny vessels, but you can see them. Correct placement is required. This is almost triphasic flow. We'll go to proximal part. Sorry, the distal phalanx. can see that small artery seen there. Again reduce the width to see it better. Maneuver your probe so that you can pick up that artery there. So sometimes in vasculitis you get thrombus in the distal digital arteries. Well, almost at the tip, you can see the artery here. That is a nail bed here. This is a nail bed, and we are in the distal, the tip of the finger, and you can see that artery here. Sample it. We have adjusted rest of the things, so it can show this type of flow. It can show diastolic continuous forward flow, but demonstration of flow rules out the obstructive disease. You see in transverse, you can see the other artery from other side, and then they have a good vascular bed. Nail bed is very vascular. So in that way, whenever required, you can do one by one evaluation of each finger to rule out any occlusive disease or any vascular changes. Now we will change into the other side and we will evaluate what is the problem on other side. Just clean him on this side. तुम्हाला त्रास